There's a moment that happens before a horse bonds with you for life, and it is so quiet, so easy to miss, that most owners never realize it happened at all. We tend to think bonding with a horse is something that builds slowly and invisibly over months, and in most ways, it does. But right at the edge of that process, there is almost always one specific signal, a single moment where something shifts, and if you know what to look for, you can actually catch it happening in real time. Today, we're going to break down what that signal is, why it happens, what leads up to it, and why once you've seen it, you will never miss it again. To understand the signal itself, you first have to understand what a horse's nervous system is doing most of the time around a new or uncertain person. Horses are prey animals, and their default setting, even a calm, well-trained horse's default setting, is a kind of low-grade vigilance. Not fear exactly, but awareness. Muscles ready, eyes tracking, ears mobile and independent, swiveling toward sound before the head even turns. That baseline never fully switches off around someone the horse hasn't decided is safe yet. No matter how many months you've owned them, no matter how many times you've fed them, vigilance is expensive, physiologically. It takes energy to stay alert, and a horse's body is always weighing whether that expense is necessary around you. The first thing that usually happens on the road to that shift is something most owners actually notice, just without understanding its weight consistency. Not affection, not treats, not even skill. Consistency. Horses build trust primarily through predictability. If you show up the same way, move the same way, react the same way across dozens and dozens of interactions, the horse's nervous system starts gathering data that says, this individual is not a variable I need to keep recalculating. Every calm, uneventful interaction is a data point. Every time you don't react to something the way a threat would, that's logged somewhere in the horse's assessment of you. This part takes time, and there's no shortcut through it. You cannot rush your way into being predictable. While that's happening, there's a second, quieter process running alongside it, physical association. This is where most people assume quality time is the mechanism, brushing, riding, feeding, and yes, that time matters. But what actually matters more is what your presence gets paired with. If your presence consistently overlaps with your horse's most relaxed states, standing quietly together, slow grooming with no rush, calm turnout time, their nervous system starts to build an association between this person and this relaxed state. It's classical conditioning, essentially, except the horse isn't being trained to do anything. Their body is simply learning what state to enter around you. And this is where we arrive at the signal itself, the one moment that tends to mark the shift from cautious tolerance to real bond. It's called the first full body sigh, and it looks almost too small to matter. You'll be standing with your horse, maybe mid-grooming, maybe just present nearby, and their head will lower slightly further than usual. And then, without any buildup, a long, deep exhale rolls through their entire body. Sometimes their lower lip goes loose. Sometimes their eyes half close. It lasts maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and if you weren't watching closely, you would completely miss it. That exhale is not a yawn. It's not tiredness. It's the physical signature of the parasympathetic nervous system taking over, the rest and digest system finally overriding the sympathetic fight or flight system that had been quietly running in the background the entire time you've known each other. Trainers who specialize in rehabilitating traumatized or deeply guarded horses describe this exact moment as the single clearest marker they look for. Not a lowered head. Not calm standing. The sigh specifically, because unlike almost every other calm behavior a horse can display, the sigh cannot be faked, trained, or produced on command. You cannot cue a horse to sigh the way you can cue them to lower their head or stand still. It only happens when the body decides, on its own, without permission from the horse's conscious mind, that the level of safety has crossed a threshold. What makes this moment so significant is what tends to happen afterward. Handlers who've documented this transition, particularly in rehabilitation work with horses that came in fearful or shut down, report that behavior changes noticeably in the days and weeks that follow that first sigh. The horse starts offering things it didn't offer before. It starts choosing proximity instead of just tolerating it. The head drops lower and stays lower for longer. The eyes soften permanently instead of only in isolated moments. It's not that the sigh causes the bond. It's that the sigh is the first outward evidence that the bond has crossed into a new category, from cautious acceptance into something closer to felt safety. Here's the part that surprises people most. The sigh usually happens quietly, almost anticlimactically, with nothing dramatic preceding it. It rarely happens during an exciting or affectionate interaction. It tends to happen during the most boring moments you share, standing in a stall doing nothing in particular, grooming in silence, waiting together for nothing at all. That's not a coincidence. Boring, uneventful time is exactly the kind of low-stimulation environment where a nervous system finally has the room to fully stand down. If you're trying to force a bonding moment through constant interaction, treats, and attention, you may actually be delaying the very signal you're hoping to see, because you're never giving that nervous system a quiet enough moment to let go completely. If you've caught yourself in one of those quiet, uneventful stretches with your horse recently, pay closer attention next time. That might be exactly when it happens. And if this is changing how you think about your own horse, subscribe and leave a like. It helps more people learn to recognize the moment their horse is actually trying to show them. Once you've witnessed that first sigh with a particular horse, something interesting happens to you as the observer. You start noticing it everywhere afterward. You start clocking the difference between a horse standing calmly near you and a horse whose entire body has actually let go. You start noticing which moments produce it and which don't, and often it teaches you as much about your own presence as it does about the horse. Owners frequently report that after they identified this signal for the first time, they became more aware of their own tension, their own pace, their own impatience, because they started to see, in real time, how those things either invited the sigh or kept pushing it further away. There's something worth sitting with here. A horse's body has spent millions of years being wired not to let its guard down easily, because in the wild, a moment of full relaxation is a moment of vulnerability that predators exploit without hesitation. That evolutionary caution doesn't disappear just because a horse lives in a safe paddock and has never seen a predator in its life. The wiring is ancient, and it does not care about your intentions. It only responds to demonstrated safety, built one uneventful, predictable, quiet interaction at a time. So when that exhale finally comes, when the sigh rolls through your horse's body while you're standing there doing absolutely nothing remarkable, understand what you're actually witnessing. You are watching millions of years of protective instinct decide, for a few seconds, that it doesn't need to run the calculation anymore. Not because you did anything spectacular, because you were consistent, quiet, and present enough times in a row that the body finally believed it. Comment and tell me if you've caught that exact moment with your own horse, and if you haven't yet, watch for it. It's smaller than you'd expect, and it's worth everything once you see it.